Riverside.
All right. Well, hello. Welcome back to You Know What I Like?
Theater.
And we got a couple more shows that we're recording today, but our very first one we're going to talk about could not be more local. It is a place that I'm really well familiar with. It's the first theater I really got involved in when I moved to Charlottesville. That's Live Arts.
Yeah.
So just so everybody's aware, I was in a live art show recently. I was in Emma. I talked about it a little bit on one of our previous episodes. So I feel like I have a hard time being a bit, not biased, I suppose.
I have a little bit of trouble with objectivity in this case.
Yes, exactly. Because I love the show. I love the directors. I love the choreographers. Director and choreographer, I worked with them before on previous shows. They're amazing. It's a Joe Icona show. It's Be More Chill. I've loved Be More Chill ever since the West End cast recording came out all the way back in 2018. I was working as a neuroscience advisor, and I just blared that all day long. Love the squip. Would love to play the squip one of these days. Just amazing, super duper fun show.
All right. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say, good on you for disclosing that you can't be objective about this, but artwork is itself highly subjective. So I don't think there's any problem with talking about a group that you absolutely love anyway. So.
Well, they announced that they were going to do the show back when we were rehearsing for Emma, and we were putting that up on its feet, and I was like so excited. And the only thing I was bummed out about is it is their traditional teen summer theater musical. And in some opportunities, you can have adults get cast. So, for example, when I first moved in Charlottesville, I auditioned to be the mom in Footloose. I got cast as the mom in Footloose. So I was able to be an adult in a teen summer theater production. This was all teens. All people who were in high school, essentially.
Yeah, and I feel like while you are disclosing your bias toward this theater, I should disclose that I don't have nearly your bias toward this theater. I have seen shows from them before, but I've never participated with them before. However, I may actually be collaborating with them in the future, so I'm inclined to talk nicely about them as well. So.
Yes, we have a bit of an NDA going on right now. We're not allowed to make any big announcements, but you might have some word coming from both of us.
Yes.
So, essentially, this was Live Arts, July 10th. Another 7:30 show. It is at what they would call their Gibson Theater. They have a theater up on the third floor, which is a smaller black box theater. We saw Blood at the Root there. So for much smaller shows, it kind of goes in the black box. This was a big show. This was the summer big show for them, along with summer theater camps and stuff like that. So this is a theater that is actually 2 stories. There's a general audience on the floor, and then there's a general audience in a balcony. And it's called the Gibson after one of the founders, John Gibson. And so I always say it's on the 2nd and 3rd floor of the Live Arts building. Live Arts has been at 123 Water Street for at least 20 years. They started in a much smaller space, so this used to be named nothing, and it recently became the Gibson. So if you're looking for anything, Gibson Theater is usually their large, showy productions. We saw Follies there. I think we saw some of the summer camp performers there. Emma was there. So, I mean, I feel like if you have a large classic show, what they also have there, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown was there. I don't know. There a lot of the bigger shows, Airline Highway, Kinky Boots. A lot of the big shows go on the bottom floor. A lot of the smaller shows go upstairs. And I think the only one that I can remember in recent memory was Stage Kiss. But All really good stuff. They usually put on 6 shows a year, 3 big ones, 3 small ones, and then they also do a lot of things related to local talent development. So if you're interested in writing
Yeah.
screenplays, writing musicals, they have small writing groups. They do a lot of events because they have a fantastic event space. So let's get down to like brass tacks. If you're gonna, show up to Charlottesville, go to 123 Water Street, you'll be able to find them. They do a lot. They've been a mainstay in the area, so I'm sure this is very boring for people who know the area. And if you don't know the area, you have no context clues. So,
Well,
but it's a vibe. Like, it's been here a long time. They do a lot of work.
and just really quick, I want to say the whole structure you just talked about with, larger theater downstairs, smaller theater upstairs, and everything. That's actually something that, in my experience, is very common with professional theater companies and larger community theater companies, is that you have, once a theater hits a certain size, a certain level of success, the expectation pretty much is that there's going to be a second stage, a place where they can experiment a bit more. They can put in shows that they want to produce, but that may not have the same mainstream draw as their other shows. So a second stage like that is actually a very common thing, both in professional and in community theater.
Yeah, and they use their space really effectively. It's like 4 floors, so
Mm.
like the local movie making camps and education stuff kind of happens a lot on the first floor as well. There's an art gallery downstairs on the first floor. Up on the 4th floor, they have the audition room or the rehearsal room, which they also have used for like readings and parties and stuff like that. So we actually went to Be More Chill on opening night, and we were invited as audience members. We'd like to come up and have cake, and it was 10 p.m. So no, we
Yes.
went home to bed. But yeah, they just have a really amazing space. And then also up on the 4th floor is their administrative offices, shoes, costumes, all of that good stuff. So yeah, they have a
Yeah.
small library. I know before I left Charlottesville the first time, I left some things that I wrote in there because anybody can publish their own books, and I left some plays I wrote in there. So yeah, if you happen to find yourself in the Live Arts building and want to go to the library, hopefully my stuff is still there. I mean, I haven't heard it got removed, but also, play culling is a thing.
Yes. Culling library collections happens. Who knows? What also happens is people being like, I love this so much, I'm just going to hold on to it.
Well, let's get down to Be More Chill. I will be honest, it was one of our more affordable shows.
Hmm.
It's not free, but it was $36 for 2 adults.
Yeah.
So it was $15 for each adult ticket, plus tax, plus Virginia
Mhm.
tax. And then parking was about $5 or $6.
Yeah.
And you can do that on the blacktop across from the theater, or you can do that in Water Street parking garage.
Mhm.
And I don't know. We've done both. I don't think either one really makes a difference. It's pretty easy to get back and forth. I mean, it is like right there. It could not be simpler to park and find the theater.
Yeah, and it is a case there. Of course, you're going to a show. It's going to be a long parking period. But for downtown, I've noticed that both of those parking areas as well do a thing where it's like, oh, you were here less than 30 minutes, then you can get out for free. But
Yeah, it's always annoying paying for parking. I will be honest, 20 years ago, there used to be a lot more places to park for free, which is really helpful as somebody who goes to live arts and
Mhm.
volunteers. It's an all volunteer theater. So there are some administrators that work part-time or full-time, but that's really rare.
Mhm.
Most people just come and give their time, whether it's dramaturgy, directing, tech, you know, we had accents, people who trained in us for accents for Emma. So I feel like that's the one thing that I really want to highlight is it was really kind of important that people had free places to park, and Live Arts has really subsidized that. So I know as an audience member, we paid our parking, but as a performer, because we put in so many more hours there, they do subsidize our parking, and we don't have to pay for parking when we have to go to a 4-hour tech rehearsal or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's also been really nice, and that's kind of also the thing that I really enjoy about Live Arts is when in our night, even though it was
Mhm.
opening night, It was all teens. There was a lot of new people there, new family members, new friends of the teens, and they have this program, like a newbie program, which is subsidized by Virginia for the Arts, where it's only $4.34 for your ticket if you're new or if you're under the age of 25. So that's really cool. So even though I thought my ticket was pretty affordable at around $30 plus $5 for parking, you can go even cheaper, which is nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my little notes on describing what we saw was Be More Chill is featured as part of their summer theater training program with a focus on teen development, both onstage and offstage. So they had not only actors that were all teens, but they also had teen technicians. So teens
Oh,
with the booths, teens making the props, all that stuff. So it's all focused on teen education and teen kind of leadership with like adults kind of being their mentors or their guides.
mm-hmm.
So that was pretty neat to know. Like it was, I put the show features an all-teen cast, and what a revelation! Teens playing teens. I know, shocking. We never ever see that. So that was really really cool. And you know, both you and I talked about. We were shocked that this was not like a junior version. They're like,
Right.
no, we know this show. We want to do this show uncut, unedited. They
Mm-hmm.
did an adult show that focused on teens issues. Like it was a novel before, it was very teen heavy about mental health and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that was exciting for both of us to be like, this is a teen show that might deal with more mature language and more mature issues, but it was all teens doing it. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
like we talked a lot about, it talks about teen sexuality, but as an adult watching it, you're kind of like, oh, that's sweet. You know, it's like I remember being 15 and 16, and this is awkward, and this is kind of what
Yes.
you think is cool and sexy. And it was just like, I think because there was such a teen leadership drive, and the director is also a trained intimacy coordinator,
Hmm.
they handled a lot of stuff really well without dumbing it down or neutering it.
Yeah. I feel like I can say really quickly, we're getting into the pros of the show, right?
Yeah, we're going into the pros next. I was like, I
Yeah.
have another little thing to add, but I'm going to let you jump on in because if you have an idea, this is going to be the time to add it.
Well, you just mentioned it as well in what you were just saying, but this is a thing about community theater and educational theater that Brie and I have talked about a lot. That where um, you grew up in larger cities. You spent your time in larger cities, so you're used to community theaters that run on a very professional model, and they're not professional theaters, but they act like they're putting on professional productions.
And they don't
Um,
shy away from this type of material either. Like, I think it
exactly.
was really shocking when I told people in middle school when I went to a theater training program, we did the Time Warp from
Yeah.
Rocky Horror. We didn't do all of Rocky Horror, but also, you know, I was like, I think some people were kind of shocked that we were like 12 and 13 all doing the Time Warp. But, you know,
Yeah.
pelvis is a funny word when you're in middle school.
Yeah. And see, the area that I grew up in, on the other hand, my town was about 30 minutes away from a professional theater, an actual professional theater. But my experience with theater being with our community theaters and the educational theaters in the area, uh, my one thing has always been seeing shows when I grew up being Bowdlerized. Let's cut out anything that's even remotely salacious or potentially offensive, um, because there's kids in the cast. There might be kids in the audience. So we watch things like a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, a show that was written for adult audiences, very much intended for adult audiences. But let's cut out all of the racy bits of humor and everything and try to make it as sanitized as possible. So it is still, for me, it's a pro when I see a community theater or an educational theater that says, no, we're not cutting language, we're not cutting jokes, we're not doing the cleaned up version of this. This is a production, and theater is what it is. It doesn't have to be like censored for the most sensitive audience possible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I even remember in our theater education where there was some people you just had to say like you're allowed to swear. Like, in
Oh
fact,
yeah.
like, it's really required for this scene. Like, you have to say the line.
Yes, I can always tell people who came from the same sort of background I did growing up, because they're always the ones who get to like a dirty word in the a dirty word in the script, like even on the level of like damn, and they go, what would you like me to say instead of this? And just, yeah, I could remember the first time that I saw someone do that, and they said, what do you want me to say instead of this? Should I say? And the director cut them off and was like, no, you say damn. It's in the script. We don't have time to approve a cut to the script.
Yeah, and I also like never had that problem either, only due to the fact that, my typing, I played moms and grandmas. So
Mhm.
I was always the person that was probably doing something age inappropriate at 13 because I was a grandmother.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I just want to add before we get into the true pros, right?
Sure.
Is because this was a real show. It was not. It was part of the teen summer theater education, but it was advertised as just a real show. If you look at the poster, it just says "Be More Chill." Come and see it, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to just highlight. They gifted amazing resources of space and mentors to this program. So, again, as the script was not dumbed down, the material was not cut, it was treated just like any other show would have been to put up at Live Arts, and to be in that huge big theater and to have that to play with and to build in was just amazing, because I do think so often you kind of find educational things or teen things to be regulated to, like, well, you'll go in the rectory, or you're going to go in the
Yeah.
audition room, and then we'll invite your parents. And this was just, nope, it's a show. Anybody come.
Yeah. It was definitely the teen show was treated like it was a main part of the season, not as, oh, isn't it fun? We're doing this community outreach thing. No, this was a show in the season.
Yeah, it was not, good for a teen show. Like,
Mhm.
and we'll get to this. I'm going to
Yeah.
save it for last. But the
Mhm.
dancing.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that in detail. I promise. I know, but I
Yes.
got to get to the little things and end on a high note.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so
Alrighty.
let's get into the pros.
Yes. So I started with, we had great seats. It was general
Hmm.
admission. We came early. The little usher ladies brought us programs so we could look while we were waiting. And then they're like, go wherever you want. And to be honest, like, I thought we had really great seats. I was right next to the stage.
Oh
Could
yeah.
not be closer. But I looked around. I don't think I saw anybody straining to look to see if they
Oh.
couldn't see anything, if there was blocked views. I mean, I think how they had, it was like almost like a thrust stage, like a mini
Hmm.
thrust. I thought it was great. I was like, there was not a bad seat in the house, and I loved
Yeah,
ours.
absolutely. And I remember, because like you said, you were right up against the stage. I turned to you at one point and said, are you concerned at all that you're about to get kicked in the head? And you were like, no, I trust them. Uh, which
Yeah,
again,
I was like, I've worked with Liberty. She got this. Like, I
yes.
didn't. If I did not get pushed off the stage in my grandma wheelchair for Emma, I was not going to get kicked in the head.
But that was how close our seats were to the stage, was that I genuinely had actual literal concern that I was going to have to haul Bree to the first aid station if she got kicked in the head during one of the dances.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
they were very space conscious, space aware, which I
yeah.
already know I'm not. So I feel like when Glenn is like, "Are you worried?" Because he knows how I am.
Mhm.
Because literally walking into the theater, I was just going. I was like, "Get tickets, get tickets! I'm so excited to see the show!" And I turn around and I look through the window of the first floor, and Glenn is across the street. I was like, "What happened?" And Glenn was like, "I was paying for parking." So I said, "I do not have that spatial awareness." So Glenn's fear was well founded if it was me as a teen kicking next to a patron's head.
But yeah, our seats for the show were fantastic. Like you said, I didn't see anybody seeming to struggle with sight lines. When you're dealing with thrust, there are going to be moments when an actor's back is turned toward you, which we saw a few times during the show. But the show is very well produced in terms of keeping sight lines open in general, so that even when one actor was closed off to you, there were three more actors that were visible to you perfectly fine.
Yeah, and they used both levels of play space as well. So there
Yeah.
was play space up on the balcony level, which
Mhm.
in the form of like three open windows, and they do that a lot. And then there was play space on the staging area, and then there was like a little mini, like almost like a little wrestling pit kind of thing, on the first floor, which like they always used really, I think, creatively as well.
Mhm.
So there's a big song, which I think this is like a highlight of how they use the space. Michael in the bathroom. You might have heard the parody on the Tonys.
Mhm.
George Salazar, I think, sings it everywhere he goes now. It is the song from the show, and they made that right up front. They didn't hide a bathroom in a corner. They didn't do it upstage. They decided the bathroom's downstage, and they did the whole stomp and knock to
Yeah.
and going downstairs was the bathroom.
Yes. And just to toss out there, because I know it's an important thing in terms of how some shows get treated by professional theater world and everything, that you mentioned it yourself. When we saw the parody on the Tonys, they did a parody of the song to open the Tonys that year, on a year when it was almost completely snubbed for any other kind of mention at the show. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Then my second pro, aside from, hey, the space was great, our seats are great, whatever. Again, I'm going back to tickets were affordable. I said
Mhm.
there was, our tickets were great. There's a lot of cheaper options for first time and younger audience members. And half of our audience was new members. They asked, they
Yeah.
said, who's new here? You can get a free newbie pin at intermission if you want. And I think about half the audience raised their hands, went, woo, I'm new. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
at least the entire like back two rows of the audience raised their hands practically. So that's huge because theaters are always talking about how do we bring in new audience members. This was successful. This brought in new audience members.
Yes. Yeah. And they were excited. Like, that was the other thing is, like, this was, like, not people being dragged to go see their friend or their sister or something in a show. These are people that were
Mm.
like, I'm stoked to be here. I heard this is great. I can't wait to cheer on either somebody I know or people like us who didn't know anybody on stage but just liked the show.
Yes, and I apologize in advance if I'm stealing one of your pros you want to talk about, but the house music, the music that plays before the show even starts, they were playing chip tune versions of songs ranging from like the '80s through to the early 2000s. And like we were talking about, the audience was very enthusiastic. We were seated behind two girls where when a chiptune version of "Wake Me Up" came on, we're just suddenly like head banging and singing along with it, and I was just like, hey, we have got a motivated audience here tonight. That's great.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like you brought up a really good point. Like, everybody wants to know, how do you get this generation in the doors? I think Live Art's shown how it's done.
Yeah.
Make it affordable, make things relevant.
Hmm.
I think that was kind of the coolest thing. It's like, and everybody can do it in their own way, but it's like, be it that there was anecdotal physical proof there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, and you didn't steal one of my pros because I'm on my last pro.
Hey.
And I hate to say it's my last pro because everything was so good, but that was my final pro. Everything was so good. I am a soundtrack purist. I love West End. I love Broadway. We bought tickets to the 54 Below Iconis Family Christmas Special. So, we are... I'm bringing Glen in deep when I look at Iconic shows, right? We have album in all of its different forms.
Yeah.
I hope that they do, Love and Hate Nation. I hope that they do Broadway Bounty Hunter. Like, I'd love to see a million shows that Joe Iconis has written.
Oh yes.
But
What's
everything
the
was
one?
so good.
What's the one that I am really eager to see? The unauthorized Hunter S. Thompson musical.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was just in DC. We did not get out there for that, but that is something that we keep double checking of when the album's going to come out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a phenomenal show. I've enjoyed the music. Brie, I drive Brie everywhere, and Brie gets me into downloading all of the new original cast recordings and playing them in the car. And Be More Chill was definitely, when that came out, that was like I was constantly putting that one on. She didn't have to say, "Hey, can we listen to Be More Chill?" It's like it's already on, and getting to actually see the show and fill in the story. And I'll be perfectly honest, seeing a lot of the staging and being like, "Yep, that is exactly how I would have staged that moment. That was fantastically done." Not that I'm a fantastic director, but if I do say so myself.
Yes. I think I said one part I really hoped for a kick line, but what it was fantastic. It's just personally, I've always envisioned it as a kick line.
Yeah.
I think we even talked about like the dad, the guy who played the dad.
Hmm.
They made an artistic choice, I think, to have him have a microphone in his
Yeah.
pocket like a crooner. That was so good. And it really ensured like, everybody could be heard, so it's like I
Hmm.
kind of felt like also if somebody near him had a mic that went out, he had a mic in his pocket. It's like there were a lot of things that were just clicking on all cylinders, just like I mean, there is not one thing that I could think that's bad. And we saw Newsies the night before,
Hmm.
so we were kind of like, all right, this is professional New York, high energy, heavy dancing, and we're like, this is equally good. And in fact,
Yeah.
I said everything is so good, but that dancing was such a highlight. Amazing dancing. Why is nobody like 5 pounds by the end of the show? It was like Jane Fonda on steroids. It
Yeah.
was just such a tough, tough, tough level of high energy choreography. And the kids were still belting. They were still killing it. They
Mhm.
still had a lot of high energy. But it's just like, as somebody who's middle aged, I'm looking at that, I'm like, I would be dying. How are
Yeah.
they doing this?
It's like, do you, after the show is over, do you just go back and collapse and not move for an hour?
Drink a
Because, like,
million liquid IVs.
yeah, because it was highly athletic, not as acrobatic as some of the moments we saw in Newsies just right before that show, but incredibly intricate and powerful. Some choreography that really was kind of like, is the theater shaking? I think the theater has to be shaking right now, and just phenomenally executed. I don't.
Precise, clean,
Yes,
really good.
that.
Nobody was sloppy. You could tell that people all came from different dance levels, but they were
Mhm.
all hitting the same angles, making the same points, and clean choreography so hard.
Yeah, and something that I think is important to call out as well, because again, we've talked about this before with Bent Theater Improv, and it's one of my big things in theater. It's one of your big things I know in theater, is not afraid at all to be weird. It For those of you who know Be More Chill, you know that it's a science fiction sort of comedy suspense story, and it's a weird enough script, but then the production deciding to make some really off the wall choices that just made the show pop even more, made it more interesting. And I love it when a theater company gets all of its performers to have so much buy-in
Hmm.
that everybody is just happily selling the weirdness. There's not one person on the stage where you're like, that person is going, oh, this thing. No, they are all 100% committed to, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, and like not to compare Newsies and Be More Chill again, but that was 48 Hours of Our Life, so I kind of have to. But
Yes.
there was like a quote from the director of Newsies, I think, in the program where
Hmm.
they said, "Oh, kids are so much on their phones. I wanted to do something where kids could band together in real life and show what power they have."
Hmm.
And I just thought that was so strange to do a musical about the 1910s to make a comment on modern kids with phones. Like, I get what they were saying, but I'm like, but that's Be More Chill. Be More Chill is absolutely a commentary about kids on their phones and
Hmm.
community and connection. So I was just like, did some wires get crossed here? Because I was like, I would have thought that quote would have gone with Be More Chill. I would not have expected that, oh, kids are on their phones too much, so we did Newsies. Like,
Right.
get it? But also I was just like, it made so much more sense for the second show we saw.
It's because the children long for the street corners and the bag of newspapers. The children long to labor, Bree. What don't you understand?
Yeah, we had an ongoing bit of a Minecraft child and a Newsies child. We're like, wild, wild. Anyway,
Yes.
so basically, I just had the dancing was such a highlight. Having just saw Newsies, we felt this was really equal caliber, just outstanding. Again, a show you wanted to go home dancing from. I mean, I was a bit exhausted watching it because I was like, how can you? Teens were just amazing, amazing, amazing teens. Sounded just like the soundtrack, but they had their own flair. I think there's like one song where everybody went up the octave, which was crazy. There was one song where people did completely different riffs, but it all sounded really great. So impressive. And to be honest, we've never seen a bad teen show. Like I said, we've seen some other teen shows, and there was like a comedy teen show a while back where it was like Bill Gates and his like robotic women, which was like all thought up by teens, and they just performed it, and it was hilarious. And we were like cackling, and people were like, "Which kids are yours?" And we're like, "None of them." And then everybody moved away from us.
You know what I like? Theater.
Yeah, you know what I like? Theater.
Yes.
But it's literally one of these things where it's like you just kind of forget that all these kids that are 14 now, you could know who they are in 4 years. You know, it's like we have certainly known kids in our educational theater programs in Southwest Virginia and in here who have gone on to do Marvel movies, who have gone on to have big careers. So, you know, you're not getting shortchanged by seeing a teen show. These are very real, very talented, high caliber performers. They are just at the beginning of their career versus you know who they are.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it when we were talking about Newsies bringing in members of the community. But yeah, so often when you think of developing talent, people think of it as, oh, developing skills. Sometimes the skill is already there, the talent is already there. What's being developed is the career.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, I think another highlight, if we could talk, like, I mean, of course, Jeremy, Michael, all the leads were phenomenal. But I think some of the people that we were most impressed with was the young lady playing Christine. We thought she was so funny. Like, literally, I turned to Glenn, I'm like, that's you. That is you in theater school. Like, 100%. Yes. She sings I Love Play Rehearsal, and I looked at Glenn, I'm like, that's you. And then the young lady playing Brooke was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I think the young man playing Rich was really funny. I think that you mentioned you loved him coming out and, like, you know, might be spoilers. I'm not going to tell you where it comes, but he came in a large, you know, Frankie Valley beauty school dropout angel type of costume.
Yes. And talk about someone committing to the weird decisions and everything. I admired that the guy playing Rich was just constantly, no matter what was happening on stage, he was selling the hell out of that. I rarely see that kind of energy, even in people who are like professionals who have spent their entire careers doing professional work. And he was out there selling the hell out of it.
Yes, and I think if I had to hit a featured performer, the girl playing Jenna Rollins in Pitiful Children with her riffs, man.
Yeah.
Amazing. Chef's kiss.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, like, not a bad performer. Liberty DeLeon did the choreographer, like, clap, 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 give her flowers.
Amazing work.
She's choreographed a lot. She's a singer, a dancer herself. So, I mean, just really bravo. Like, I mean, I think that she should be very, very proud, not only of the work she's done with the kiddos, but, like, to really be like, you don't need to go to New York to get a choreographer. Look at who we have. We have a amazing choreographer here. So I was like, I felt really lucky to have worked with both her and Daniel, the director. And I know that Daniel is doing Christmas Carol in December. So that's going to be exciting to see as well, because I think he's also done the edit. He's wrote kind of his own version.
Oh,
so
cool.
So there's a lot of stuff coming up at Live Arts to really love and enjoy, and we're going to get to some of that in a little further conversation on a different show. But yeah, I mean, it's really, really tough to sit here and add much more pros to it, because everything was so great. And, like, I honestly don't have that many cons, so cons will go quickly. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's hear your cons. I'm interested to hear your cons.
So I said, to be honest, I don't have much. I was kind of cold, and I just leaned into Glenn. But I said, but for the price of the performances, this show was worth it either way. Please
Yes.
go see it. Maybe paying for parking is annoying, but I don't think there's anything really holding people back to miss the show. Call the box office if you need help getting that $4 ticket price. I was essentially told by the box office manager there was one day that I forget what it was, but I kind of mentioned, I would go see it, but I don't have money. And they're like, well, just tell us. We'll figure it out. Like, I mean, like, they are very open to, if you want to be an audience member in that show, they will figure out how you can get to go see that show. Maybe you volunteer and you get a free ticket. Maybe you just kind of, like, let them know and you pay them back later. I don't know. Call the box office. Go see Be More Chill. Just amazing, amazing show. And it's, running till the end of the month. So only a couple more weekends, but definitely get out there. Definitely go see these kids. I think they're going to be huge. Either, locally and taking their talents into, like, whatever they have their passions for. But the singing was phenomenal. The dancing, just a true highlight of the piece. Cannot rave more about it. Go see it. Yeah, one con. I was like, I can't think of another one. I dare you. I dare you think of another one.
I can't think of another con. One thing I do want to mention that was a positive, a pro, in my opinion, that I realized we didn't say a word about was the set design. Because it is, I'm not going to tell everybody all the details of it, but I am going to mention that this is a show that has a largely empty stage. Because you have a massive crowd of people coming out and doing this intricate and high energy choreography on it. You need all the space you can get. And yet it still managed to be a set design that was engaging and appropriate and really helped to sell sort of the themes and the concepts of the show. And when you have someone who's basically told, you know what you have to work with? Just the back wall of the stage area, and that's it. That and they pull off something that is that phenomenal, that is worth being celebrated.
Yeah. So anyway, we loved it. Go see it. It's definitely for the price you're paying, you're getting an amazing, outstanding experience, and we might go back. I don't know if we will have time, but we might try to sneak in there before we get on.
I wouldn't say no to that. I won't fight too much.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the end of our show. This is a short one.
Yeah, when you have a largely positive experience with relatively few nitpicks, it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like more theater.
Yes, more theater.
Theater. So we're going to get going on to our next recording. We hope you'd enjoyed this one.
Yes.
We're so excited to keep bringing this to you. As I think Glenn mentioned last time, and I always forget, subscribe. We're trying to get it out there on other podcast platforms. I know we're posting on our social media. I started putting them up on my really defunct YouTube because now we're recording the Vlogcast, what I'm calling it, because that seems to be very trendy. So yeah, I hope you can find it in any format and share it with your friends.
Hey, all right.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.